Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Wednesday Night Slides number 56. We have a real potpourri of stuff tonight to show, so let's just jump right into it. Rather than try to explain what's going to happen, let's just make it happen. Let me get the slideshow up and running here, and we'll get right into it. And away we go. We're going to start off with a retirement. My friend Bill Monahan just wrapped up 36 years of running streetcars in Philadelphia. He's been a trolley operator since 1987 down there, and Saturday was his last run. For his last run, the Friends of Philadelphia Trolleys sponsored a trip through the streets of Philadelphia using Kawasaki car number 9096. Bill's last day of operating streetcars out on the street and picking up passengers was actually last Wednesday. But for his final run, he actually got to run a charter trip honoring his own retirement. As usual, we made photo stops throughout the city with nice scenic backdrops, some cityscapes to spice up the photos, looking for unusual and interesting angles here and there. This building here has been a favorite spot on many a photo charter. And I was riding up front to help Bill pick out photo locations. And since I was up in the front, standing on the front steps, I was able to get some shots out the front window as we met other streetcars out on the street. This is a shot at the loop at the end of the Route 34 on Baltimore Avenue. There used to be trees planted right up against the curb here, but they're gone. And we've done this shot a million times, but I thought to be different, let's pull back a little bit since we can now and get the fence in the foreground since we're not dealing with the trees anymore. Bill wanted this shot here, streetcar on Baltimore Avenue going past a mural with a trolley on it. So not bad. And here's Bill with destination sign reflecting that it's Monahan's LRV. We have fun with the destination signs on these cars. They're programmable, and we can put some neat things in there. Here's one case of that right here. We're at the 13th Street station underneath Center City, and the destination sign is up for 7 City Subway. That's actually a Newark, New Jersey streetcar route. Once again, underneath Center City in the tunnel. Here we are out on Chester Avenue, heading to Yeadon. The streetcar system does serve 2 towns outside of the city limits of Philadelphia, Yeadon and Darby. We're on Chester Avenue here. We just met a regular service car heading into Center City as we're heading for Yeadon. Excuse me. And once again, Philadelphia row homes for a backdrop. Just some cityscapes. We're on brand new trackage here in Yeadon. You can see the concrete's fresh rail in the street. And this is the Yeadon Loop. Our car is on the right, a regular service car on the left, and then there was a bus that was there for training parked in the loop. So we had the bus put rail shuttle up on its destination sign for a 3-vehicle shot here. And there's just the 2 streetcars. Once again, another interesting mural on one of the buildings here. So we did a photo stop. And crossing over the former Baltimore and Ohio main line, now CSX in Darby. At one time, this was the only crossing of a streetcar route and a heavy rail route in the U.S. After the demise of most streetcar systems in the 1950s. Since then, with the renaissance of streetcars since the 1980s, Other cities have crossings of streetcars and heavy rail, but I believe this is the only one where the streetcars are actually in a street shared with automobiles. Back at the Elmwood Depot, where the trip began and ended, PCC2 came around. They're being stored here while they get rebuilt over at Woodland for eventual resumption of service on Route 15. The hostler was moving this car around and brought it around and posed it for us next to the charter car. And there's Bill getting off of the streetcar for the final time as a SEPTA employee. That was his last run with a Kawasaki car, probably until one of the K cars winds up at a streetcar museum in 8 or 9 or 10 years. Changing gears, some South Jersey scenes. This is a covered bridge in Cherry Hill. Although I think it's a faux covered bridge. I believe the roadway itself is supported by steel beams underneath the road, and the covering, the truss covering, is not really supporting the weight of the road. It's just there for looks. So it's a bridge with a covering and not really a covered bridge where the trusses support the roadway. This looks like a battleship, and that would be correct. This is the USS Rancocas, located near Moorestown, New Jersey. At one time, it was indeed a commissioned naval vessel with the sign of LS1, LS standing for land ship or land site, depending on which source you're looking at. As a commissioned vessel, it was used to mostly test radar systems. And because it sits in the middle of a cornfield, it has gotten the name of the Cornfield Cruiser. The Navy no longer has it as a commissioned vessel, although there are still naval personnel working here along with military contractors. I was going to take photos of this from the street, which I did, but I went around to the guardhouse first and said, "Hey, you know, I'm taking pictures of your battleship outside the fence. Hopefully there's no problem with that." He goes, no problem. He says, you'll be doing nothing wrong. He said, outside the fence is fine. He says, worst case scenario is they'll call me and have me come out and ask you to leave, which is unlikely. He said, but if they do, I'll come out and ask you to leave. Then at that point, it's up to you whether you want to actually leave or not, because you'll be doing nothing wrong by taking photos out there. This is Big Rusty. He's a troll located near Hainesport, New Jersey. He's one of 10 sculptures that an artist is putting across the country, made up of just scrap wood and scrap metal. Big Rusty is the first of the 10, and he's located now in a town park. They're beginning to develop this area, make it into a park so folks can visit the sculpture. There's also hiking trails in the area. He's located at the site of an old pottery factory. You see Big Rusty is leaning against it here. And this is a Nike missile site. There were several of these located in New Jersey because the Nike sites were for defense of cities. So both New York City and Philadelphia had rings of Nike bases around them. This is one of the old radar towers still there. There's 2 radar towers here located on the grounds of this landscaping company. The other tower is covered with ivy and vines. And this is a Futuro home. There used to be 2 of these in New Jersey. One has since been relocated to Ohio. This one here is in Willingboro, New Jersey. Futuro homes were manufactured in the 60s to be used as houses. This one here survived because it eventually found use as a branch of a bank, and now resides in a park in Willingboro. Sticking with South Jersey, we're now on SMS Lines, which is at the Pure Land Industrial Park, just up the street from where I am right now. They hosted the Conrail Historical Society, their quarterly meeting, and they ran trips through the industrial park using GP38 number 2003. The 2003 is significant because it was one of 15 original Pennsylvania Reading Seashore Lines GP38s that ran right here in South Jersey back in regular service. Sitting there in Pure Land is Erie E8 number 833. It is for sale. It is not owned by SMS. They are just storing it. But if you want an E8 for your backyard, I think Ozark is the dealer on this. Inside the shop, we find SMS 060 number 9, nearing its completion for restoration. It's going to wind up over on SMS's Woodstown Central Railroad, a 14-mile branch that operates either direction out of Woodstown up to Swedesboro and out to Salem. Steam passenger service will start there either late this year or next year. Next to the number 9 is 6-axle Baldwin number 554, formerly from the Trona Railroad. The 554 with its 6 axles, it's a little too big to negotiate the switches at Pure Land comfortably. It's been used there for switching, but that's going to wind up over in Woodstown Central as well. And Woodstown Central has also just acquired 2 Reading FP7s to run over there. Here's some a look at the Baldwin's cab being worked on. And even though the tour was going on a Saturday, the shop workers were busy doing things. On the other end of the train that took us around Pure Land was this ex-Pennsylvania Railroad Baldwin locomotive. SMS became famous as the last bastion of Baldwin locomotives in the U.S. They have a bunch of them, and they often use them for switching. They have a couple of VMDs. They got a couple of GEs. On any given day, you can find any one of the 3 locomotive builders locomotives in service here. But if you want to visit SMS and you want to see a Baldwin, all you got to do is call them a couple of days in advance. Say, hey, I'm coming to visit your railroad. Can you use a Baldwin that day? And if there's a Baldwin in service, and there usually is, they will put a Baldwin on and use that for the day. After Pure Land, the group went over to the Woodstown Central in Woodstown for a short ride behind Baldwin number 304. SMS is going to be sending over their 2nd coach to Woodstown sometime this month for their fall foliage trains. After the trip, I chased the train back to where they're storing it near Salem. But they are building a new facility near Woodstown that will service their headquarters on the Woodstown Central. Back to the Jersey Shore. We're down in Wildwood. I did 2 trips down to Wildwood. This is the first one. Went down there in the afternoon and did some daytime stuff I hadn't really shot before, including this cool restaurant located not far from the main attractions on the Wildwood Boardwalk. Yeah, if you want to win a prize, you can choose the Kool-Aid guy as your prize. One of the many arcades on the boardwalk. Maury's Piers is the big amusement park on the boardwalk. Roller coasters, big Ferris wheel, all kind of stuff. Anyhow, Maury's mascot is a seagull. And every year they sell a newly designed seagull plush. However, now they have to keep the design a secret until opening day, because in past years, when the design became well known, other vendors were doing knockoff seagulls and selling them out on the boardwalk. So now Maury's keeps their seagull design for the year under wraps until opening day. This year's seagull is eating a French fry. What else would seagulls do? Out on the boardwalk, you got the famous trams. The beach taxi. It says it's open, but the flag does, but they didn't look too open to me. Out beyond it is the beach and the Atlantic Ocean. And I did some just some playing around with the camera as I sat on the bench out on the boardwalk watching the crowds go by. Here's the tram rolling by. I tried that in black and white too. One of Maury's coasters, an out and back coaster. And in the background is, of course, the Ferris wheel. One of the arcade games. And a food stand, funnel cakes, of course. And as it got darker, I started shooting some of the neon. Mariners Arcade. Bobby D's Arcade. My goal was to go out and shoot some neon at the motels, but I was having so much fun on the boardwalk, I really never got away too much. There's too much to see here. Mama's Kitchen. Out on the boardwalk, there's some real seagulls in the sky there looking for French fries. The lights are so cool here, though, once the sun goes down. It's just really a neat place to shoot. And a food stand. It was getting late, but I had some time to go out and do some shooting away from the boardwalk. Just around the corner from Maurice Piers is Laura's Fudge. You can't tell from this shot here, but the Laura's and the two fudge on either side of it, they're actually individual incandescent bulbs, lighting up the letters there. A little bit of neon on it, not much. Then I did some nearby motels. Isle of Palms with its neon sign up top on the roof. This is an old photo. This is the Skylark Motel. I shot this shot here a couple of years ago. Anyhow, the Skylark replaced its sign. It took down this neon sign, and I think it's been preserved. I'm sure it has. I'm not sure where, though. It took down this neon sign and replaced it with this neon sign. Wildwood has encouraged businesses to get into the doo-wop spirit, doo-wop being the late 50s, early 60s, get in your Chevrolet and take a vacation type era. As such, the local Wawa is decked out in neon. Even the local Walgreens has some neon on its sign, and that's a moving sign, actually. Is that the mortar or the pestle? The sticky thing actually flashes across the three lights there. And they've added some doo-wop touches to their store. Same with the local Acme, the supermarket. Normally there's no neon on an Acme, but they have a little bit of neon on their store here as well. Back to trains. We're staying in New Jersey, however. We're at the Pine Creek Railroad in Allaire State Park, which is over on the Jersey Shore, below Sandy Hook, up in the Long Branch, Bayhead area. 3-foot gauge railroad's been there forever. Officially, they're the New Jersey Museum of Transportation. And they were having their Railroaders Day. This was last Saturday. No, last Sunday. And they were going to run their 3 operating narrow gauge diesels. And including 2 on passenger trains and 1 on a freight train. So here's one of the passenger trains, little industrial engine, standard gauge Jersey Central caboose that's been re-gauged, retrucked to a 3-foot gauge. That's been there forever. I was there as a kid when I was like 6 years old, and that caboose was there then. They got a station and some other buildings they've preserved there. The old shop is on the far right-hand edge there. And they got a much newer, larger shop behind that. Like I said, a few buildings dotted. This coach is from the Canadian Nationals lines in Newfoundland. Brought down to the States. And this coach has been here forever, too. It runs in a loop around the this open field. So no matter the time of day, there's always a good side angle to be found somewhere. You can see both trains in the shot here, with the second train there underneath the tree on the right-hand side. Unfortunately, they were short of crew, so the freight train never got out. But I did get to shoot these 2 passenger trains. Sticking with small railroads, you're now in Pennsylvania at the Williams Grove Historical Steam Engine Association. Their claim to fame, they have the last operating Pennsylvania Railroad steam locomotive in the U.S. in service here. 060, number 643. And during the Threshers reunion, they run trains pretty much constantly. It takes them about 25 minutes to do a cycle. It's out and back. They pull out, push back, unload, load, and go. And it's about 25 minutes per cycle. But it's constantly running. Now, how much of this engine is authentic Pennsylvania Railroad, I don't know. I think it's been reboilered. So the running gear, the cab's wood, so probably the cab's new. Tender, I'm not sure, but anyhow. As it is, it's the only operating Pennsylvania Railroad steam locomotive in the country. And due to it being stored in a non-climate controlled building, they've chosen to leave the boiler jacketing off of it to prevent moisture buildup inside the jacketing. There's their diesel. They use that on some weekends. Steam engine only operates about 5 or 6 days a year. And the railroad itself is only used a dozen days a year. This was, like I said, this was the Threshers reunion, so there's a lot of tractors there. They had steam tractors, gas tractors, diesel tractors, all kind of tractors. Changing gears again, heritage units. CSX is repainting some locomotives into colors honoring predecessor railroads. Here we see the Seaboard System locomotive going through Chester, Pennsylvania. And the same locomotive crossing over the Schuylkill River in Philadelphia. We call these the mullet locomotives because they're all CSX business up front and all Heritage Party in the back. On a different day, here we see the Seaboard System engine going through Willsmere, Delaware. 1982, locomotive number, that's the year Seaboard System was formed. Most of the locomotives, all of them so far, carry a number that is historically appropriate to whatever the paint scheme is. On a different day, we're in Singerly, Maryland, near Elk Mills, Maryland. Chassis System Heritage Unit, 1973, that year, that being the year Chassis System was formed. My all-time favorite paint scheme, Chessie system, but they made the lettering too small. I always liked the Chessie system engines because the lettering on the side was big and bold. And then when they did the Heritage unit, they made it a little bit too small, a lot too small. And it's not a Heritage unit, but here's New Jersey Transit's Veterans unit, the Screaming Chicken. It's been in service on the Atlantic City line, not far from here, for the last couple of weeks. In fact, it was in service today. I didn't get a chance to see it today. This is a few days ago, coming into the station in Pennsauken, New Jersey, with an Atlantic City line train. Back to Wildwood again. This is after Labor Day, and boy, do things shut down after Labor Day. I was there on a Wednesday night, and Laura's Fudge was dark. Maurice Pier, nothing operating, none of the amusements. Most of the motels, though, still had their signs lit. So I was shooting the combination of neon and other lights. Jolly Roger with its neon out front. Biscayne, a real nice sign on top. And they keep this lit. I've been going to Wildwood at least twice a year for the past 6 years. Some years you go down there and some signs are out. Some signs are partially lit. Some signs are fully lit one year and partially lit the next. But the Biscayne is pretty consistent. They keep that sign on and well maintained all the time. Saratoga Inn in the Ball Harbor. No neon here, just some lights. The Beach Colony, once again, no neon, but it's got that funky 60s vibe going with its Brady Bunch lettering on the sign. The Wildwoods are made up of 3 towns, actually, from north to south. It's North Wildwood, Wildwood, and Wildwood Crest. And this is Wildwood Crest's entrance to the ocean here. Caramara, another motel that keeps its sign well maintained almost all the time. The Gold Crest, I've only seen the sign fully lit once in my dozen or so visits down there. This was not one of the times. Obviously, the R is out in Crest, and there's actually a crest in between the words Gold and Crest, and that's out. The only time I saw the Gold Crest sign fully lit, the one time I did, somehow I didn't get a close-up shot of the sign. I'm not sure how I did that. I got plenty of shots of it partially lit, some with the G out in gold, like here with the R out in Crest, but yeah. The Armada, once again, no neon, just a lot of cool lights. The Waikiki, that sign on the edge there, on the left edge, that is neon. The American Safari, neat old sign, partially neon, partially backlit plastic. But usually this sign here has something out on it when I'm there. One of the letters is burned out. One of the bulbs behind the plastic's burned out. On this visit here, the sign was fully lit on this side. Other side was completely out. Looking down from Wildwood, the Crusader with its neon on the roof. Yankee Clipper, no neon, but backlit plastic, but pretty cool. There's Yankee Clipper and the Crusader. The Seagull, this is one of those signs that usually has something not lit. One of the letters is out. One of the arrows is out. On this visit here, though, everything was working. The Caribbean is the real jewel of the Wildwood hotels. 1960s Jetsons styling, ramps and flying walkways, all kind of cool stuff. They got the Caribbean with its neon, which is always on. That's really well maintained. Beyond it, the American Safari, and then you have the Bel Air in the foreground with its mixture of backlit plastic and neon. Seaside Diner has a little bit of neon in the windows, most of it modern. You saw the Seagull earlier with its neon all lit up. This is the other end of the hotel with some backlit lettering. No neon here, but the beach terrace is one thing I hadn't ever shot before. I never noticed it before. So this is a new one for me. And there's the beach terrace and a liquor store. One thing I did notice when I was down there this past 2 weeks ago, one of my favorite signs is gone. The Blue Marlin. It was lit last year. This year it's gone. I'm not sure what happened. I'm not sure if the sign was preserved, where it went, what's going on. But the Blue Marlin, just simple with a serif lettering, classy but simple and elegant. I always liked the sign, but alas, it has vanished. Going to wrap things up here with 2102. Reading and Northern 484, ex-Reading company. I chased it in September, Labor Day weekend. Here we are at Mooresville, on its way out of North Reading, heading towards Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania. This trip here, I wanted to do a few things I hadn't done before. I have shot in Mooresville before, but not on a sunny day, so I wanted to get this shot. From there, I went to the bridge over the Little Schuylkill River at Dreyersville. And this is the only time ever chasing 2102 that I've been the only photographer at a location. This is back down a long private dirt 10-mile-an-hour road. You got to know it's there to know it's there. It's not something you're going to see from the road. But the drive, it's the dirt driveway that serves several houses back in here. And even though it was marked private property, I decided to risk it and drive down it. Didn't get very far down. I met a car coming out, and I flagged him down. I'm like, hey, I hate to be a bother. I said, but I'd like to go back to the bridge and get a photo of the steam train coming. And the guy said, oh, yeah, you want it's back to the bridge? He said, you won't have any problem at all. He says, just don't cross the tracks back there. Because the person on the other side of the tracks doesn't like people. So I drove back here, got my shot, only person back here, and then left. What I'm afraid is going to happen someday is that the hordes are going to discover the shot and come tearing in here at 60 miles an hour, trying to beat the train and ruin it for everybody. But this is a shot I've done before, but not from this side of the tracks. This is the 102 signal. This is on the steepest part of the grade, working up towards East Monomoy Junction. And even though I shot here before, this is where you get a real nice show. The engine really pounds through here. All kinds of cool noise and smoke and steam and everything. The lighting was wrong, so I tried that in black and white to see how it would go. From here, the train makes a huge loop. And while most of the chasers were heading further west to the west end of the loop, I just reversed direction here, headed east, because I wanted to get to Halto Lake and be the first one there. At the dam at Halto Lake is a floodgate over the railroad. And on top of the concrete at the floodgate, there's room for only a few people. So I wanted to be one of the first people here to get up on the floodgate and get this shot, because the ground level shot is nowhere near as good. Shot I've done before, coming north out of Jim Thorpe, going through the tunnel at Nesquehoning. This turned out pretty good, actually. This is another place where he's really working hard. Puts on quite a show. And there he is coming out of the tunnel. This is some work in Lightroom. The original in this, these are deep dark shadows here. And I didn't want to blow out the highlights. I wanted to keep the highlights and then just work on the shadows in Lightroom. And then the original raw file of this is just black on the right-hand side, just dark. I was able to pull it out in Lightroom. Light wasn't great here. Once again, I thought maybe black and white would be a little bit better. Once again, it's a shot I've done before, but I really like the show through here. It really sounds good. The chase going back is nowhere near as exciting as the chase going up. This is through Barnesville. And then I finished off where I started. This is a shot I had not done before. This is back at Mooresville, splitting the signals, but from the other direction. From here, he's almost back in North Reading to conclude the day. That's going to wrap this up. I'm trying to do shows on the third Wednesdays rather. But next month on the third Wednesday, I'm out on the East Broad Top doing a Pete Laro charter. So next month will be on the fourth Wednesday, October 25th. So that will be what I do next. And I'm hoping to dig back into some of my older photos for that and dig something out from the past. We'll see how that goes. That's going to wrap it up here. I'm going to sign off here for everybody who watches this on YouTube.